observance today, you will find 3 distinct cases of the infection. The first case is drawn to a large volume of small games, the bite-sized gamer, if you will. Say hello, parrot.
Hello, hello.
The second seems to have a penchant for classic handheld titles. It is particularly fond of things which are, for lack of a better term, loony. You may call this one Straw Hat.
Konnichiwa.
The third is the most terminal case, as he seeks a so-called gains, which involves so much reading it is measured in literal days of time. We have no nickname for this one. Connor will suffice. Hey, how's it going? Despite the visible differences, the root of the infection is the same. Thus, we have dubbed it the backlog Brainrot.
Man, I'm scared. The real old-timey scientist going on here.
I was just expecting you to do the whole podcast in that voice.
I might be able to, but that would be rough.
Drive you a little crazy.
Just a little bit.
Might drive us a little crazy too.
Probably.
I feel like I was getting analyzed, which was, it was all accurate though, what you said.
Correct. We're all in test tubes, and this has been a case study for a disease that I am going to be using for my PhD thesis. So thank you very much.
We all have the brain rot, but just it's all different.
I'm glad we could help.
Yes. Well, how's everyone doing?
Pretty good. A little jet lagged, but I'm going to try to hold in there and talk about some games and books and such.
I was going to say I'm doing well, but probably not as well as Parrot, who just got back from vacation. So,
yep, got to see the Grand Canyon, went to Vegas for a couple days. It was a very good time. The jet lag is definitely real. This is the first time I ever flew across the country, and I never, I knew about jet lag, obviously, but this was my first time experiencing it, and it definitely hit me really, really hard, especially on the way out there.
Yeah, in my experience, the glow of the after vacation ends about 24 hours after you get home.
Yeah.
Shorter if you go straight to work.
You always need a vacation from your vacation, unless you just take like a staycation.
Correct.
Yeah, I usually take a lot of staycations. I could go for one of those right now. Because it was tough because going out to the Grand Canyon, we had to fly into Phoenix, and I had to leave at 3 a.m. to drive an hour to the airport. So I was awake, at like 2:30, and then got to the airport, flew to Chicago, had a layover, flew to Phoenix. So I've been awake since 2:30 in the morning, and I land in Phoenix, and it's only 11 a.m., and it's like I can't possibly stay awake all day.
Yeah, when I was on the East Coast, I was flying cross country at least once a year.
Yeah, I just not a fan. But for a vacation, it's worth it. And while I was out there, I was as close as ever, so I did get a wonderful Bigfoot sticker and Area 51 sticker.
Nice.
I was also going to say, Parrot, this is off the topic, but speaking of Jets, they have a new quarterback.
I know, breaking news from when we're recording. Pretty crazy. There's only so optimistic I can ever be as a Jets and Nets fan. It's hard to be too optimistic. I've seen the Nets take a big swing and it worked out really, really horribly. So, I'm just hoping this one's a little better than that.
Yeah, I mean, the risk wasn't quite as bad, but I mean, it is a risk, obviously, but I think it's worth it.
Yep. Fingers crossed on my end.
Jets, Jets. That's about all I know about any of this.
Eddie's going to love that.
It's catchy.
That division's going to be tough now, though, I will say.
Patriots are the worst ones. Finally.
Yeah,
hopefully.
Wow.
We all hate Boston teams.
I'm the person that lives in Massachusetts but hates the New England sports teams. It's always an interesting dynamic here.
That makes me the most positive on the Patriots out of the three of us here.
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't like any Boston team, not even just the Patriots. I don't like the Celtics. I don't like the Bruins. I don't like the Red Sox. I don't like any of you Boston teams.
Yeah, take that, Boston people. New Englanders like myself.
Hilariously, most of the New Englanders most of the fans I knew also were shit talking their own teams most of the time. Like, I don't know how much the conversations were all about. Like, yeah, I think Brady's reaching the end of his peak here. I think Belichick's. I think it's not going to last much longer. I think the dynasty is on the way out. Then they went and won 2 more Super Bowls.
They just never could accept how good they had it.
Let's not think about that again.
Yeah, it's finally over.
Yeah, and before this becomes Sports Hour, then Straw Hat, what'd you play this month?
All right, so most of the month, I actually just finished wrapping up Trails to Azure, which I brought up last month because I started it, but it is a Trails game, thus being really long, though not as long as some of the later games, but I just ended up wrapping that up, and while this game is a lot harder than I remembered, and I should have known because even on normal, when I played it the first time, which was the Geofront patch on PC, I had to get this game originally, I had to jump through some hoops too. I had to
Yes, you
somehow
did.
get it from a Chinese site because that's the only place that had the game digital PC that you could get. And then you had to get the translation to work. But anyway, it was worth it because it's one of my favorite Trails games. And it definitely still is. But man, this game is not easy. Some of the boss fights are tough, and and the gauntlet at the end is pretty rough too. But of course, I loved it, and I'm ready for Hajimari or Reverie, I guess. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, that was definitely the one that had like the best balance in the series before Hajimari.
Hmm.
It's consistently interesting fights.
Yeah, it's interesting because we'll talk about another game that you played, another Trails game later, but I definitely think it was a lot easier than especially this game was. So, but we'll get there
Yeah.
at some point. But eventually, Parrot will play this game, but we don't know when that will be.
Yep, at some point. At this point, I'm just waiting for the last one to go on sale, and then I'll buy them both probably
It'll
on
be a
my
time
Steam Deck.
measured in moons.
So I never actually bought it when it came out. I was gonna buy it on Switch, and I didn't end up getting it because I wasn't ready to play it. And then now I have a Steam Deck, so I guess it all worked out that I didn't.
Yeah, the next
Yep.
probably the summer Steam sale, they'll probably both go on sale. I'm guessing.
And that is when I will jump in post Zelda. No big games till Zelda.
Mm. All right, then. So, what's first on your list, Barrett?
Well, as usual, I played a lot of small games this month. Are you guys surprised?
Nope,
Nope.
not in the slightest.
So, to be fair, I did play one 20-hour game, but we're not going to talk about it this month, really. So, first, I will start with probably my favorite game I played this month. That is Katamari Damacy Reroll. I have been wanting to play this series for a really long time. It always looked really interesting, but for whatever reason, I never got to it. And then I bought this reroll port of the first game. Like, oh my god, I probably bought it like 2 years ago, and I never played it, of course, because it was cheap in like a Switch sale. It was probably like $5. I bought it, and then it just sat there and sat there and sat there. So then when I got the Steam Deck, it was also on sale for like $5. I'm like, okay, I'll just invest the $5 again, and this time I'll actually play it because it's on this new console I have. And that actually did work. I actually did play it, and I am glad I did. Have either of you played this or no?
It's a series I've always had my eye on, but have constantly put off for the thinking of, oh, when I feel like playing something chill and funny, I will put this on. And then I continue to play everything that's the opposite of that. Long, not chill, very intense games.
Yeah, I have not played it either. I just thought it doesn't really look like a game I would typically like. I mean, maybe I would, but that I've just never really thought it would be something I would, so I've never played it or bought any
It
of
is
them.
it is very unique. I mean, everybody, most people have probably seen this in some way, but you're just this little green guy and you're rolling things up and you're slowly like you start really small, like you're rolling up thumbtacks or leaves, and then all of a sudden you're rolling up cups and then tables and then dogs and then people and then cars and trees, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger until you're rolling up like kaiju in the ocean and skyscrapers and stuff.
Yeah, aren't you like starting a little star or something like that?
Yeah, so like the all the stars in the galaxy disappear, so then you get sent by like the king of the cosmos to Earth to roll up things on Earth, which he then shoots to the sky to make the new stars or something like that. It does have like little cutscenes, and they're pretty comical. But I mean, I would not say this game has a real story, but it's just enough to be silly and fun, and also just has like an amazing soundtrack.
Yeah, I was always fascinated by it as a kid, but never had the chance to get to it. So
Yep, that's where I always was too until now, finally. And the control's really interesting, where you actually have to use both analog sticks. So to like move forward, you press both analog sticks forward, and then to just turn right, you would push the left one up and the right one down, and then vice
funky.
versa for left and right. And then you shake
Ooh.
the two thumbsticks up and down, like alternating really fast, and that's how you speed up and then shoot forward like an attack almost. So you can like roll up big hills. So it's a very unique concept for a game, and it also controls unlike any game I've ever played before.
It's like real tank controls.
Yeah, pretty much. Except for, you're rolling a giant ball of cats in buildings instead of a tank.
Negligible difference.
I just want to, shout out another classic game, Mutant Blob's Attack on Vita. That's the first game I ever played with the mechanic of eating things and slowly getting bigger. And that also is what made me want to play this game eventually.
Like that classic movie, The Blob. That was
Yep.
a fun one when I was a kid.
I would say this is slightly less creepy than that.
All right. Well, first on my list is also a Trails game. And now we're getting into the untranslated ones. This was a long time coming for the list because I have been chipping away at this game for well over a year at this point, I think. Because I bought it at launch back in 2022, 2021?
Yeah, I think it would be 2021.
Yeah. Imported it then, put it on a shelf for a little bit and said, I'll start it when I learn enough Japanese. And then I got to the point where it's just like, I could learn the Japanese while playing it. It could be that extra motivation factor. And that was actually working pretty well for a while. But then, as happened in the last episode, I made, I think that was the last general update. I made that deal with Never. And so I ended up just doing the English injection. And then 85 hours of my life disappeared as I finished the rest of the game.
In like 2 days somehow.
It was 8 or 9.
So how many hours did you put in before the 85 hours?
240.
Oh my god. How long do you think that would have taken if it was just in English? Like, how far do you actually think you made it?
Oh, it was like the first 10 to 15 hours of the game.
Oh my. Yeah, you know what? That does check out if you're trying to play a game in a language you don't understand.
Yes.
Especially like a JRPG where there's so much text and stuff too.
Yes, especially that one. And I spent a lot of time talking to NPCs at first when I was doing the translating too, so I heaped an extra amount of effort onto it. I learned a lot doing that though, so none of that time was wasted at all. But yeah, this is already my favorite of the whole series. There's a potential the next one, which I've already started, will be even better, but I just absolutely love the setting and the characters and the music and the a lot of the little issues I've had with the writing in the series over the course of it has kind of, I wouldn't say like they fixed all of their writing issues, but you could, like, it feels like to me that the writers really like stepped up their game here, and it feels like an even more natural and like professional quality than before.
Yeah, and obviously I played this already because it was my game of the year last year. So we might hear about it again. I'm guessing at the end of this year, we'll see.
Probably.
But yeah, I think they definitely learned a lot from, because this is like the fourth, I guess you would say, soft, or technically the third soft reboot of the series. Like obviously they're all interconnected, but they learned a lot from Crossbell, and I feel like they learned a lot from Cold Steel as well, because they pretty
Yeah.
much went the opposite direction of how they started Cold Steel. So Cold Steel obviously starts out more like a Persona high school setting, all that stuff, where this is more like they definitely are more like a darker, like almost mercenary type vibes with an older cast for the most part, and definitely an older, darker pro tag, I would say, than any of the ones in the past by far.
Yeah.
And I feel like they've definitely addressed one of the biggest issues that people have with Cold Steel is how big the cast is, and they definitely did one of the favorite things I love in JRPGs is where you pretty much get an entire chapter to get to know a character, which I feel like is very good because that gets you used to the character and it gives you enough details, and you're also not rushed along to the character. Where Cold Steel, you kind of just got everybody at once. Where Kuro, they're doing more like they'll just slowly bring the characters in, and I feel like that they can build more in depth that way.
Yeah. And they don't forget the rest of the cast either, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Like they'll bring in the characters and they'll actually participate in the rest of the story instead of becoming more or less irrelevant once their chapter is over.
Mm-hmm.
To for the most part. I would say that's usually the weakness of those kinds of JRPGs is that they'll introduce a character, get a lot of time, and then the difference in time given to that character for the rest of the game will just like drop off a cliff. And sometimes in like Persona.
Yep. And I know we kind of talked about this in the Discord already, but I feel like this will be the game that in the US especially that Trails will kind of take off, because the combat system especially, they've gone away with their more traditional, I mean it's still turn based, but they've gone more of a Final Fantasy VII remake type combat. Like you can do action or you can do turn based, but even the turn based is far more speedy and engaging, I would say. I mean, I still really like the old one, the
Yeah.
old system, for because I feel like at least in the first Kuro, because I haven't played the second one yet, but it's definitely not as in depth as like the previous game, which is Hajimari, because Hajimari builds off of everything that the Trails games before it have done, where Kuro is like a reset of that. So obviously, it's not
Yeah.
going to be as detailed or as in depth as that, but it's a very good start to the combat, and it's a much needed change, I feel like.
Yeah. And as far as I am into Kuro 2, I would say that this is the Cold Steel 3 of the combat system, where
Ooh.
it's like, oh, this is a good new set of rules, but it's completely broken.
I kind of like that. So, because I do have a soft spot with Cold Steel 3 with how broken the orders are with that.
Yeah. But in the second one, they've so far have it's gotten more tactical, especially since I decided to start that one on Nightmare from the get go, and
Ooh,
it's been uh, a lot more thinking involved so far.
nice. Yeah, because I kind of touched on it earlier, but did you also think, because I played Kuro on hard originally, and I thought it was very easy.
Oh, it was. I got to a point where I was just like, and I'm gonna chain 4S crafts from Van
Yeah.
at the same time. Whoops, boss is dead. Yeah, no, hard was way too easy on that one for series veterans.
Yeah.
As we've discovered watching Moo play through Kuro as his
Hmm.
first Trails game, it's a slightly different experience when you're not familiar with it.
Which makes sense because, like, Never and I both were saying, like, when we first played Cold Steel 1, I was a disaster. I mean, I got through the game because even on normal, Cold Steel 1's not that hard because you can pretty much just spam S crafts and you'll win. But if you would have did that in the older Trails games, you would have been dead.
Yes, yes, as I discovered when I went to Sky.
Yep.
But yeah, to wrap up my thoughts on Kuro, the thing I really love about it is how much more like adult is not the right word and dark. Like it's a darker story, but it's not edgy. And it's a more adult story, but it's adult in the way that they do more serious
Hmm.
things, which was quite a bit saying how it's already a series that's uh, got a pretty in-depth world and pretty like you know them talking about heavy political things was already a case, but now there's a lot of really like meaningful social stuff in it too. That's really fun.
Yeah, I feel like the writers have really matured along with the series. I think it's just more of a mature storyline and take, which I think it's also because it's coming off of Cold Steel, which was more of the traditional high school type. But even the later Cold Steel games kind of veered back to the older styles of Trails, I feel like. But yeah, this definitely, like I said, I think this will be the game that maybe critics will actually pay attention to when a good Trails game comes out, and they'll actually give it more coverage.
Yeah, it definitely has the highest potential of the series for the West. All right, then let's bring things back into a land Parrot can understand. And Straw Hat, why don't you go ahead and talk to us about Mega Man X?
Yes, I think Parrot also played this, but I
Yep.
decided to play Mega Man X because it was next on my backlog list of release date order games, and I definitely think I like it more than the original Mega Man games, but honestly, I'm not that big a fan of the original ones. For some reason, Mega Man games just don't really click with me. I don't know if it's just the type of game it is because I liked X, but I didn't like love it. Even though I like I said, I enjoyed it more than the original Mega Man because I love the wall jump or whatever it's called, where you just can like jump up the walls. I
Hmm.
think that's really cool, and the dash is really nice too. But I think that it's just not really my style of games. For some reason, I like the spin-offs like Battle Network and X Command Mission, the turn-based RPG, a lot better than the actual Mega Man series, which I know would offend people. But yeah, I think Mega Man X is, like I said, I think I enjoy it more than the original, and I think it is a fun series to play. I've heard that the later X games aren't as good, but I think the first three they say are really good.
Yeah, I was looking at that too because I had never played Mega Man X before. I think I saw that like the first four are considered good, and then like 8 is good, I guess, or something like
Yeah,
that.
I actually did play 8 before, and I did like that one. I heard 7 is like the worst one by far.
Yeah, so I don't have like a long history with Mega Man. I played all of them. What was it, last year? I'm pretty sure.
Hmm.
I have the collections on Switch, and I worked my way through the 10 normal regular series Mega Man games. And I wouldn't say that I love them either, but I think I probably like them more than you do. I got pretty obsessed with them, and I would play them pretty much all in a row. So I found the gameplay loop to be really fun, but I don't know that I could really differentiate too much between, Mega Man 2 and 4 or,
Hmm.
6 and 5. They're all like pretty much the same to me. And I felt very similar about Mega Man X. I think it's one of the better ones I played, but like other than the dashing and the wall jumping, which were, really big additions, but it's not like the game was drastically different than Mega Man. Like I don't think that was enough to make someone that doesn't really like it that much enjoy this, a lot.
That's probably what it was for me because, like I had said, I don't really like the series that much. So I'm like, well, maybe X will do it, and it definitely was better for me, but still not like my favorite for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't work for me either.
Yeah, I just like the running and the jumping, the shooting, and I do like having all the different weapons you swap between because the different bosses have the different weaknesses. But I also don't play it, and I play it the cheating way, where I just look up the order when I play it.
Right. So you played X before too, Connor, or did you try it since we did?
Just like last year, I tried just a little bit of it because I've I've dabbled with Mega Man a couple of times since some of my cousins were into it, but I could just never get into it because I never liked the way it threw enemies at you or set up the situations. It was like, it was difficult, but it just felt like I had to memorize where everything was, and then it would suddenly be like, okay, well, no, it doesn't matter. But it wasn't really satisfying to play the first time around, ever.
Right.
Yeah, I can understand that for sure. I didn't feel like that much in X compared to like Mega Man 1 though. Mega Man 1's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
That's like one of those games where you just die because you don't know what's there and then all of a sudden you're dead.
Hmm.
I feel like X was a little more forgiving than the old Mega Man games, which I did like about it. Like I didn't feel like in X I was like constantly searching for health items that it was never going to give me.
I gotta say, I felt like such a hypocrite too because as I was playing it, I was seeing these enemies. I'm like, oh, I remember this enemy from X Command Mission. I remember this. But Mega Man fans would have been so mad, be like, it was here first.
Actually, you're wrong.
Yeah, that's I'm sure what I would have got.
Actually,
But yeah, I'm gonna keep playing them. I probably won't talk too much about them as we record over the next few months, but I'm probably just gonna play like a couple of them a month, and I'm at least gonna do X1 through 4, and then probably just jump to 8. Because if Mega Man fans think the other ones are awful, then I don't really feel like I need to try them.
Yeah, that sounds wise.
So, another series so we were talking in Discord, and Alex posted a news article about Super Bomberman R2, I believe it was, coming to
Yep.
Xbox. And so Bomberman is a series I had no experience with whatsoever, kind of like we were saying with Mega Man X. So after discussing that with everybody, I decided to just do a little research and figure out which Bomberman was considered good. But it was a little more difficult because I had to like narrow it down to which ones are considered good to play alone, because I have no one to play with.
Yeah.
Because I know that Bomberman is mostly a multiplayer series, and that led me to play Saturn Bomberman for the Sega Saturn. And honestly, it was really fun. I feel like I want to play more. I feel like I want to play more Bomberman after this.
How's it like? I am familiar with multiplayer Bomberman since I would occasionally play like some of the later versions with my friends when I was a kid. But what exactly is a single player Bomberman game?
So it started with some actually pretty impressive animated cutscenes and music and some voice acting for the Saturn. It was actually really cool cutscenes. And then you just have like, I think it was like 5 worlds or 4 worlds. And you just had like, I think it was like 6 to 9 or 10 stages per world. And it was just like the map with the grid, and then there were enemies everywhere. And then I assume in the multiplayer you also break the bricks and power-ups come out.
Yeah.
So then you like would build your Bomberman up to be more powerful. And then on each stage there were like 3 or 4 or 5. I guess they were just supposed to be like little electrical towers, and you had to break those, and then that would open the gate to the next level. So you didn't actually have to kill all the enemies; you just had to kill all the gates.
So it really just is like the solitaire version of the game I'm familiar with.
Yeah, and then at the end of like each world would have 1 or 2 bosses, which are actually pretty clever. They're like huge ships and stuff, and you had to drop the bombs and time it up. So it was a pretty fun way to learn Bomberman without ever playing it, because I mean, I had to use the save states a lot because I was just killing myself constantly in the first few stages. Like what? Oh, so like I grabbed up the update. I'm like, okay, so the bomb always goes 3 squares, and then I'm good. Then I would drop it, but I didn't realize I picked up a power up that made the fire longer. Then I'm dead. I'm like, what the hell did I do to myself?
You have to get used to walking behind walls.
Yep.
So the only Bomberman game I've really played, but I actually really liked it, and it's Wario Blast, featuring Bomberman on Game Boy, which I played last year, which actually I never knew this, but I looked it up, and basically for America, they just thought this Bomberman game might not do well, so let's add Wario to it, even though it makes no sense. But yeah, the gameplay pretty much sounds similar to what you said, Parrot, and I've always really liked that game, so I can definitely see the appeal. But I just wonder if they all like play the same though, is what I'm worried about.
Yeah, I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to try some more other ones that people say are good, and I'll report back. I assume they all play basically the same and maybe slightly different. I'm honestly not sure.
Yeah.
But I downloaded it. I heard the Super Nintendo ones are good. And then some people say the GameCube ones are pretty fun by yourself, so I'm going to try those too.
I just gotta wonder, what is it about Bomberman that made someone go, yeah, Westerners won't get this, as compared to all the other games that were coming from Japan at the time.
Really? Yeah.
It's like, it's a dude with a bomb. What wouldn't Americans get about that?
Are you gonna play the 360 reboot, Parrot?
No, I'm going to pass on that one. I didn't realize there were so many. There's over 60 Bomberman games.
Oh yeah, it's like Tetris, but the 360 one's the classic like hardcore like realistic version or something weird.
Yeah, that made no sense. That is hilarious. Oh boy.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with the ones that people say are good. Oh my god, yeah, Bomberman X-Zero. I remember this cover. I remember seeing this at a GameStop.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on that one unless I beat the other 59.
Sure. Maybe we should do a special on that one.
I'm sick that
Just think about it. Offers out. All right, so the only other game on my game list this month is an incredible masterpiece title that I was actually introduced to just yesterday, although I had my eye on it the whole month, or whenever it was announced this month. That game is Crab Champions.
Ooh, I've saw a bunch of people played this, but I really don't know anything about this. So
Me either.
Are either of you familiar with the Crab Rave music video on YouTube?
no.
No, I don't think so. I'm familiar with crabcore, which is like some version of like metalcore where people move around like crabs. I hope that's not the same thing, but it could be.
Nope. But yeah, I mean, it's a like an EDM music video of a bunch of crabs on an island dancing around, having a good time. It's a great song. They use it for the audio tests on Linus Tech Tips all the time, so that's why I'm particularly familiar with it. In any
Gotcha.
case, the guy who made that music video made a game, and you're a crab, and you go around shooting other crabs and slugs and other critters on an island in a like a arena roguelike. And that's pretty much the game. Shoot things, get power ups, advance. It's a Vampire Survivors level of Brainrot almost. And it's early access, so hopefully as it continues to go, it will go full on to the same level. I have high hopes for it.
It looks pretty awesome. I'm watching the video on Steam right now.
What's it called again?
Crab Champions.
At first, I thought it was. I remember there was like a crab fighting game a while. I think is it Fight Crab probably. Lots of crab stuff.
Yeah.
Wow, this does look pretty wild.
It's got online co-op as well, which I didn't expect to actually work as well as it does, because I don't know, it's like a 60% chance on any given indie title that the online co-op is going to be
Unusable.
spotty. As someone who's tried to implement those systems, I know why. It's because the documentation sucks. But
So did you play this? Like, did you guys
yes.
play this co-op?
Yeah, we played like 2 hours of it when Ryochi should have already been going to bed, and we had
I
a
feel
great
like
time.
that's always Ryochi's life. The poor man never sleeps.
That time difference is tough for him.
Well, as someone who was it was pretty funny when I was going through Kuro because I would be logging my thoughts to Never as it was the evening, and Never would go to sleep, and Ryochi would wake up, and then I would be logging my thoughts to Ryochi as I stayed up way too late, 32 hours on one day.
Oh my god! Yeah, if you two are talking, it's your differences is about as far as it can be, right? I mean, that's in
10
our group,
hours.
so yeah. You shouldn't be awake when he's waking up.
But I am.
I don't know. I might have to keep an eye out for this. I still have not tried Vampire Survivors. I know that's a sin, but I will try that eventually. But this crab one actually looks maybe a little more appealing to me.
Yeah, but
I saw the crab jumping on obstacles. You know how I feel about that.
Yeah, it's a very movement based third person shooter. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, not too much else to say about it. It is exactly what it looks like, which is exactly what I wanted it to be. So I'm happy with it. I'm probably going to put at least another dozen hours into it in the next week.
I only have one question about it. Is it better than the meme game?
Yes, it is better than Quickscope or Doge.
Oh.
Wow. High praise. High praise.
I wasn't expecting that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's also kind of that similar level of like, oh, this is much more polished than I expected it to be too. It wasn't just like it is not a meme game, more or less. Like, it's kind of a meme game because the guy's music video became a huge meme, but like clearly the dude actually has got creative potential and technical ability. So it's pretty cool.
Very nice.
That's it for me.
All right, so my next game is a little gem known as Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Woohoo!
Is that the one with Knuckles?
Yes, it is, where he's
That's a
always
good one.
laughing at you. So the biggest surprise with me with this game, it's shocking that these all came out on the same system. Like comparing Sonic the Hedgehog 3 to 1, like just the way like I feel like this game is way more cinematic. Like I feel like compared to both other Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and 2. And I definitely see why people like this. I will say this though, I'm wondering because I asked my friends this already, and they both said I'm crazy because they all disagreed with me. But I think I actually like Sonic the Hedgehog 2 a little better than 3, which is unheard of. I mean, I like 3. I gave them the same score. I think they're both really good. But for some reason, I just liked 2 a little more. I don't know if it's because of the mini game, because I do not like the mini game or the way to get the emeralds in 3.
Which one is it? They all kind of blend together at a certain point for me.
So 3 is the one where you have to change all the red balls or to
Oh,
blue.
see, I love that. I
See,
love that one.
I didn't like that one. I'd rather have the one with Sonic and Tails running, even though Tails always gets hit by everything. But
Yeah, because 2, we talked about it before. 2's the half
Mhm.
pipe one, right?
Yes, yep, exactly.
Yeah, see, I love the red ball turn. I don't know why. I just something about it. I just always love it, and it gets like a little faster and a little faster as you
Yep.
go.
You got to turn on a dime. But yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is really good. I can see why people love it because you can just see what Sega learned compared to 1 and 2. Just like the characters, I feel like, are just more alive. You can kind of see their personalities. I always kind of like Knuckles just always trolling you. And then, of course, at
Yeah.
the end, Sonic's like, he tries to help him a little bit, but it's like, I think he does anyway.
So, did you play Sonic 3 or the full version? Like, did you play Sonic 3 or Sonic 3 and Knuckles? What do you know which one you played?
I played the one on GameCube, the Mega Collection, so I think
So
it's
Sonic
just,
and Knuckles is still you still have to play
Yeah.
Sonic and Knuckles then.
yeah, I didn't
Correct.
play Sonic and Knuckles.
Okay, because I know that like when they came out, you would attach Sonic and Knuckles onto the top of Sonic 3 or something like that.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Oh yeah,
Because that's how I
weird base of
when I last
stacking
played it. That's how I
cartridges.
played it. Yeah, so it's like a huge game. Like I played this. I mean, I played this game quite a few times, but I played it last on the Sonic Origins collection that they ported or that they released on PS5, and it's just combined in that game. So it's just one like really long game.
Yeah, I don't even know if Sonic and Knuckles is on the Mega Collection. I'll have to look.
Yeah, you definitely have to play that
I
too
th-
because that's like the second half of the game.
I
If I
think
remember
it
correctly,
is
I'm pretty
It,
sure
it,
it is.
it
because
should be.
I
Oh, yeah, it
remember
is.
my
Yep.
cousin playing that back in the
Yeah.
day, which is my only exposure to Sonic 3. Because the only one I've ever played is the first one. But
And in that one, you can actually play as Knuckles. I don't remember if you can play as Knuckles in Sonic 3
No, I
without
don't.
the
Yeah,
combined
I
version.
don't think you can. I didn't get any options. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, it is on Mega Collection. Also with Sonic 3D Blast, which I will not be playing because I really
No,
didn't like that when I
that game.
played it before.
No, that game sucks. That game's so bad. I remember I had Sonic Mega Collection and Gems Collection.
which
And
one's the one with Metal Sonic?
That's Gems.
Yeah, that's Sonic CD, which is on Gem
yeah.
Collection.
What other games did they have that was different? Did they have? They had some of the Game Gear games, didn't they? In that one or something.
Yeah, and they had I think they had Sonic the Fighters for the first time, and Sonic R maybe it's called, or it was one of the racing games. I
Oh, yeah,
remember
Sonic.
I had those Sonic collections. I played them all the time.
It
My
looks
love
like
of
Sonic.
Sonic's-
It looks like Sonic 3 and Knuckles is unlockable in the Mega Collection. It's just not available from the start.
Gotcha. So maybe you have to like
Kind of makes
play
sense.
both of them separate before you can play them together. Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, I had no idea. So I thought it
Yes.
was just like a separate Sonic game.
Yeah. No, it's just one huge epic Sonic game.
That always confused me as well, but hearing that you actually stacked the cartridges on the original release, now it all makes sense. The Sega hardware was always doing weird things like that, which is wild to think about, but apparently it didn't work out too well for them in the end.
Yeah, I don't remember. I didn't actually have this on Genesis, so I don't actually remember if Sonic and Knuckles was first or Sonic 3 was first. I guess is Sonic 3 was first and then Sonic Knuckles, but I have no idea. I just know that they combined together into one big game.
Right.
So funny.
It's really cool. And then so now you have to play Sonic and Knuckles and then Sonic CD. And then you've played like the classic 2D Sonic games, I would say.
Gotcha. And Mania, of course, is the
Yes,
one
yes.
people love, but I definitely was gonna skip 3D Blast because I'm like, well, we're gonna play obviously Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 later this year. I pretty much played all the 3D like Sonic games, I feel like, other than the weird Wii ones like the Black Knight and
Yeah.
Secret Rings or whatever. But
Yeah, I think if you play Sonic 1 through 3, Knuckles, CD, and then like the newer game Mania, I think you've played the best of 2D Sonic for
you've
sure.
covered 2D
Yeah.
Sonic. Gotcha.
Sonic 4 is not very well received. I don't even hardly remember playing it. It came out in 2 parts, and it's not very good from what I remember, and I don't think anybody really likes that game.
Yeah, I heard people don't like that, so I forgot it even existed till you just brought it up again.
The DS ones are fun, though. Those ones I would also recommend.
Actually, I'm going to play Sonic Advanced at some point, I think, as well. I don't know, people don't like the first one as much, but that's the one I have. But if I like it, maybe I'll play some of the later ones too, like Advanced 2 and 3.
I played Advanced 1 and 2. I don't really remember 1 being that great, but I'm pretty sure 2 is good. And I'm going to try 3. I actually have been having it towards the top of my backlog lately to try it out. But instead of, playing Sonic Advance 3, I've been playing other games that are basically just Sonic.
Sonic adjacents.
Yeah. So I have 3 not Sonic games that I played this month that I'll go over quickly. The first one I played was a recommendation from Alex, and that was Freedom Planet. I don't know if either of you have seen this one.
I've heard really good things about it. People love that when it first came out.
Yep. So it is a 2D Sonic clone where you have 3 separate playable characters. I only played as the purple dragon girl. Her name's Lilac, sorry. But there's another one that's like a green cat woman who rides a motorcycle and then jumps. And they each have they control exactly the same, but they have one different thing about them. Like the dragon girl can launch herself at an angle as a triple jump, or either a double or triple jump. I can't remember right now. And then the motorcycle girl can use the motorcycle and then jump off of walls, climb walls like a cat, sort of.
Like the Wario and Super Smash Brothers, correct? No, probably nothing like that.
Not quite. So it plays just like 2D Sonic, except for it has a little bit more of a focus on combat, which Sonic does not have. So you have punch moves and stuff like that. So the boss fights are more like fights instead of just avoiding something and jumping on a weak point like a Sonic game. And I would say that the first half of the game did not really grab me much. I wasn't quite into it. But then the second half, there becomes a lot of creative level design and creative bosses. So I was really into it by the end.
Nice.
And what I will say, there is a story. At a certain point, I couldn't even tell you what was happening in the story. I think it was one of those stories that was simple at its core, but overly complex with all the things it was telling you. And also didn't help that the PS5 version, there's 3 different cutscenes that crash the game whenever you tried to watch them. So I had to skip them. Yeah. So I'm I wasn't in for the story anyways, so it was fun. Yeah, and it does have replay value if you want to play as the 3 characters. I didn't even try the third one, but I just beat the game as 1 and then tried a few levels as the cat girl.
Oddly enough, that reminds me of Ys with the
Origins.
Yeah, because that was a game that reminded me that, if the bosses are really well designed, they can make the game compelling in their own right. Oddly enough, there was 3 characters there.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like in a game like this, having even though there's only so complex a boss fight can be in it's a simple 2D Sonic style game, just making it look cooler and putting you in cool environments really did make a difference. There's also just a really cool level where you're running around flying ships and you're taking them down, which was also just really cool.
Nice.
And then the second one I played was probably my favorite of these 3. And this is Spark the Electric Jester, a game I had never heard of until I Googled good platforming games to play on Steam Deck, and this popped up. I don't even know what you were supposed to be. You're supposed to be some yellow cattish sort of thing. I think it's
He's
fictional creature.
Jester.
Yeah, but he wears a jester hat.
And he loses his right now.
He loses his job to a robot who's also a jester. I don't know. This game had a story, but it was kind of a funny. There was a story, but it definitely did not matter. As you'd imagine in a game like this. But it was had its funny moments. But this one is also a 2D Sonic clone, and I think this one's honestly better than Freedom Planet because I feel like this game captured the sense of speed that Sonic has in a way that Freedom Planet didn't. This game doesn't like stop you to to force you to fight constantly. So you can, and there's also a dash button, so you can just zoom through the levels, and it feels really good when you can do that without getting stopped constantly. But what this game does that I think makes it really cool is it also combines Sonic with Kirby,
Huh.
where there's like weapon pickups everywhere, and you can hold 2 at a time, and it totally transforms your move sets, and it gives you all sorts of different ways to fight, just like a Kirby power up or Mega Man.
That's fun. So it's like is it kind of a technical, more difficult platformer?
No, I would not say that, but the combat situations can get pretty hard because you don't get a lot of hits. But it makes it kind of fun though because the different power ups have different different moves, but also it even affects your character different. Like sometimes you can double jump with certain power ups, and sometimes you can't. So if you can't beat a boss, you might want to like look around and get a different power up to try a different way.
I see. That's fun.
It does look, the art style looks really good.
I'm pretty sure it's made by like one person or something. I thought that's what Gremlin told me. I could be wrong, but it's definitely a small team nonetheless.
I feel like the main character's design and him being a jester is another Sega reference to that Knight series that's
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about
always
that.
referenced in Sonic games.
Yeah, you know what? You could be right. You definitely could be right. But yeah, I really enjoyed that one, and a lot of different variety of different level settings and mechanics in the level, which also reminded me of Sonic. It had a lot of similar ones that Sonic games have, like the hooks and the slides and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And then last, and in my opinion least, Spark the Electric Jester 2 I tried. This one is a 3D Sonic clone.
Yeah, it looks very strange. I was just looking at like this looks way different.
Yeah, I preferred the 2D one for sure. I've heard that Spark the Electric Jester 3 is really good, and I'm going to try that maybe next month or two. But this game, like the levels that were like the 3D Sonic levels, function really pretty well. There's a couple camera issues. I think you almost have like too much control of the camera. Sometimes like it almost feels like a third person, like you have a fully spinning camera, which is not how Sonic often works.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that can be a bit confusing at times, so you don't always know where to go. But just when the level is flowing correctly, they're all the Sonic style levels are really fun. But the problem with this game is they have the Kirby element, but they tone it back a lot, and then make you fight like really, really, really lame boss battles like constantly. They're really bad. Like all you do is just no matter what power up you have, it does not make a difference. You just punch, punch, punch until they're about to hit you, and then you block, and then you punch, 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 and that's just the fights. Like every fight, I was beating them in like a minute with the gold medal. I didn't like put any thought or strategy into it whatsoever. So that kind of makes it seem a little, lame.
Yeah. There's a lot of 3D there's a lot of 3D action games that have kind of ended up doing that with their boss fights recently.
Yeah, you can tell this is like a small team, and I've heard the third one's much better, so I want to see how it goes in that. But this is just like maybe an interesting step between the style of the first one and then the style of the third one.
Yeah. Looking at a video of the second one, I actually kind of like the flow of it.
Yeah, like I was saying, like when you're in the Sonic like 3D Sonic style stages and you are flowing right, it really feels super good because you definitely get a lot of good momentum. The dash buttons there again, but there's just a lot of speed boosts and jumps, and you can double jump, and then all that stuff felt good. Just there are certain situations where you had too much movement with the camera, or if you lose your momentum, it can be really hard to fix yourself. Like there's a point where I was supposed to be running up an elevator shaft and dodging things, and I hit one, and then instead of falling down, I got like stuck and I couldn't climb back up, and it was just like a whole thing.
Oof.
But I would really recommend the first one, and then I think this one's worth a try because I'm pretty sure I got these for like $5 each.
They're definitely interesting looking. Very indie, but in a fun way.
Yep.
All right, so my last game is Super Mario Land 3 Wario Land. So I really like the Wario Land games on Game Boy. I pretty much Wario Land 3 is especially one of the best games period. I feel like especially I think it's the best Wario Land game, and it's one of my favorite Game Boy games for sure. And I decided I had played the first one before, but it had been a really long time. And it's really good. Like the biggest thing that shocked me is how big the game is. Like there's a lot of levels. I want to say like 40, 39 or 40. And
Wow.
you usually have to find, or some of the levels have like treasures in them, so you'll sometimes have to come back. Like in the first world, for example, it's in like a beach cave type area, and once you beat the boss, the water like goes out of one of the levels, so then you can get the treasure if you after you beat the boss. And Wario Land kind of does this later as well, but they've always just been so creative with kind of like the power ups, and even like the later games you can't even really die. Like you just can get status effects from the different enemies, and you have to use that to manipulate the level a bit to get the treasure or whatever you need. But this one's a little more traditional, like you pretty much just go left to right looking for exits, and you have different hat power ups. You have like a rabbit jet one, so you can pretty much infinitely dash in the air, which is the one I always tried to have.
It
Then
does
you had
sound
like,
a
yeah,
little bit useful.
it definitely was. And then you have like a bull helmet, so you can butt stomp and your attacks hurt more, so you can break blocks quicker. And then you have like a dragon hat that blows fire. But yeah, it's really good. I think I like 2 and 3 better. I'm gonna play through the rest of the Wario Lands at some point, so probably 2 will be coming up soon. But I definitely recommend it if you're. It's not really like a Mario game because it's Wario, so there's a lot more focus on money. So like if you get to the end, if you get all the treasures and collect enough money, you get to make a wish to the genie at the end, and depending how much money you get, will be like what your prize is. So if you do get everything like I did, Wario gets like his own planet because he just has that much money. But
Awesome.
if you get barely any money, you get like a birdhouse. Like he can just give you that. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a little. It took like 7 or 8 hours, so I was a little surprised how long it was. But yeah, I love the Wario Land games.
Are the animations still really charming?
Oh
Because I remember
yeah,
that from the other Wario games I've seen.
yeah, the first one not as much because it's still very old. I mean, it's just like the traditional Game Boy, but yeah, the third one especially has crazy animations. It's great.
I want to try those. I did play Wario Land. I think pretty sure I played 1 and 4, but it's been like 15 years since I played them. I hardly even remember anything about them at this point. So I kind of want to like just try them all in order again.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing. Also, there's the one on Wii, which I've never really played, but I had it. It was Wario Land Shake It.
Yep.
And you should look up the art style of that game. It is so good. Like, I can't believe
Mm.
how good it looks.
Remember I had Wario Master of Disguise on DS
Yes.
also, which I
Oh,
remember
yeah.
messing with a little bit. But I'm pretty sure when I tried these games, I think I was just too impatient and too, I don't know, stupid. Like I just don't remember liking them very much. But I don't think I had any sort of valid reason why I didn't. So that's why I want to try them again.
I should retry the Master Disguise one because I actually rather enjoyed it. It was kind of like a more puzzly Metroidvania where it wasn't
Yeah.
really focused on combat, but you were trying to solve all these problems with your different disguises.
Yeah, and I think that's why dumb young parrot didn't like it very much. But I feel like if I tried them now, all now, I probably would appreciate them more. It's like, oh my god, I have to think. No.
I definitely had a lot of that too when I was a kid, for sure.
It's also so weird to me that they called this Super Mario Land 3 Wario Land because it has nothing to do with Mario. Mario shows up at the end of the game because basically uh, the Captain Syrup, I think's her name, steals a statue of Princess Peach at the beginning. And Mario goes to get it back, but Wario's like, well, if I get it back, I can sell it for more money than Mario. So he was going to do it, but then Mario just shows up in an airplane and takes the statue away from him. And Wario's like, oh, well.
The
Classic
lore is
storytelling.
crazy.
Yeah, the Super Mario Land games have such weird stories. Even Land 2 was really weird.
I remember that one's super good.
Yeah, because that one's a really good game. I played that
Yeah.
last year. It's definitely the best Mario Land game.
Are the Mario Land games different from like Super Mario Bros. 2? Like that's a different game, right?
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, the
So-
land games are on Game Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know so little about these things.
They're both like they're all traditional platformers, or just like the original Mario games, like Mario 1 and 3 and World. The first one's really strange though. Like it's in like a completely different land, and you don't even have like fireball or fire flower. You have like balls that you shoot for fireballs, and like it's Princess Daisy in that game too. And then 2, Mario comes back from the first game and Wario has taken his castle over, so you have to like go through. It's almost like it's not open world, but it's like you can choose which world to go to in any order that you want.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're definitely worth checking out.
So the Mario Land 1, he has a side fling with Daisy, and then by 3, he's back with Peach.
Yeah,
Yep.
Peach isn't actually even in the games, but yeah, he's back. He goes back to the Mushroom Kingdom in 2 and 3 then.
I see.
We'll have a lot more to say about Mario later, perhaps.
Ooh.
All right.
So the last 2 games that I played this month, I combined because they are my animals delivering mail duo of games.
Mm.
So the first one is a game I played on the plane on the way to Phoenix, and that is Mail Mole. It was just a kind of generic, simple 3D platformer, but not the open style, the more level based style, where you try to make it to the way to the end of the level where you are delivering the mail, and then there's 3 hidden collectibles along the way. Pretty basic stuff. The boss fight was pretty interesting. You fought the same boss. Like after like every so many levels, you'd fight the boss back in the hub, and it was always the same, but just slightly harder every time. And it never like added in any unneeded combat, which is cool. Like it was all just platforming challenges as a boss, which was pretty neat.
All right. They'll make it tolerable to do the same thing. Combat bosses
Yeah,
that just do the same thing get really tedious, but platforming ones aren't that bad.
yeah. It's like you're in a big loop and you have to like jump over obstacles, and every time you have to go slightly little like do more things in the same spot, but like also dodge more obstacles. So it was pretty cool. But I would say that out of all the platformers that I play them constantly, I would say that this is kind of more in the mid tier because it doesn't really do anything too amazing on its own. It was good, it was fun, it was a good use of like 4 hours, but it was not anything special. I think that part of the issue is that the mole is always underground except when you jump, so it makes a pretty cool, cute animation when he leaps out of the ground. But that just means all the rest of the time you're just like basically playing as like a moving pile of dirt. So I think it just is not very visually interesting.
Sounds great to me.
And the other game in my animals delivering mail section is a co-op game called Kiwi that I play with my friend Brendan, and this was very, very fun. You just play as 2 small little kiwi birds taking over a post office, and you just have to work together and communicate to complete the different challenges in like the time limit. So if you've played something like Overcooked, it's basically that style of game just with 2
Yeah.
birds in a mail station.
And it's now the second game this year you've played that involves kiwis.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would definitely, if you like a game like Overcooked, I would definitely recommend this. It had a very similar vibe where you're trying to communicate, and it gets a little chaotic, so you're like yelling at each other to try to figure out what's going on. So it's a really fun time. It's like there's 4 main mini games. There's like you're shipping crates, and then there's one where you're like typing telegrams letter by letter, and then there's some where you're like delivering mail into chutes, and then like another one where you're like using stickers to try to write phrases. So like the ones that involve like the spelling and the phrases especially get crazy because the levels get harder and harder as you go. So there's obstacles, and then you're like, where's the letter A? Where's the letter A? And then you're just like running around trying to do a million things while looking for the right letter. That's pretty
That
entertaining.
sounds fun.
I would definitely recommend that one. And you unlock money as you play, and you get to put little clothes on your kiwi birds. So
Perfect.
Ooh. Very
Yeah.
nice.
I'd highly recommend that one for fans of games like that. It was on PlayStation Plus Extra if anybody has that.
Nice. I did enjoy Overcooked. I think I played a little bit of it, but then my co-op partners were indisposed, so I never got around to finishing it.
Yeah, I played that with my girlfriend a lot. We were able to beat it, even though she doesn't really play many video games. It was mostly me running around trying to do all of it while she just like panicked in the middle of the room, but it worked out in the end.
All right. Well, that's about it for all the games for the month. Or is it because we could do the multiplayer minute now? Or not? Nah.
You
We're gonna
sure?
put it off.
Okay.
I'm just gonna let that cook a little bit longer. Let's just let it cook.
I got a good one this time.
Okay. More the reason for it to cook. Let's cook. And let's move on to movies and TV. What anime did you watch this time, Straw Hat?
All right, so mostly the one I actually picked this week or this month to talk about is one that I've watched like 5 or 6 times because I love Haikyuu, which is the famous volleyball anime. But the reason I put it on this month is because my wife and I started watching it because we finished Carol and Tuesday and Erased before that. So that's the next one I picked. And we only watched the first 2 episodes, so we're really early, but she definitely likes it so far. So we're off to a good start. And like I said, I've watched it many times, so I don't mind watching it again because it might be my favorite sports anime, actually. It's just so good.
This is one that one of my good friends from college was always trying to get me into. I gave it a shot, but I still can't get into sports anime.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that helps me too is I was big into volleyball growing up. I played a lot of volleyball, so that probably does help me a little bit with it.
I even watched this show once. I got like 20 episodes in, which, as you know, for me, that's a lot.
Wow.
That is a lot for you.
I really liked it, and then I was like, all right, and then I didn't go back to it. But 20 episodes is, that says
a
a lot
good
about the
amount.
quality of the show. What if I got that far?
I know that's pretty much the whole first season. I think there's only
Yeah.
26 or 25 episodes.
I got far. And then I have been meaning to just go read it instead. But I think I actually started reading it and got to around the same point, and I haven't gone back yet. But I am going to because I really want to know what happens.
Yeah, the anime is pretty. I mean, it's not. I think there's currently. So the first 2 seasons are like 25, 26 episodes each. The third season's only like 10. And then I think the fourth one might be 26 again. I'd have to double check that. But I think it's close to the end. I know the manga's finished, but the anime I think still has a little more to go.
If I remember correctly, this one's pretty well known for the quality of its animation.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's good. It's I mean the matches are it's almost like it strikes a good boundary between being realistic enough to be believable but also have the anime flash that it likes in the sports animes where that's just like this would not happen in real life, but it makes it fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried a couple other sports anime before, and this is the only one I've ever liked. It's the only one I could ever put aside the like, oh my god, this could never happen part of my brain. I remember us talking about it before, that one basketball one. I forget his name.
Kuriko's No Basket.
Yeah, where his power is that he was so unassuming they forgot he was there. I'm like,
Yeah, he's
I
like
just can't do
invisible.
this. Like, okay, this guy's a star because he's Rajon Rondo. Okay, I get it.
And it's funny because like these random high school students are like better than NBA players. They're like slamming it and shooting from
know.
half court, and it's like whoa.
geez, this kid from the random high school in Japan should take Ben Simmons' job.
Yeah, please.
Oh no, we're turning
We
into
don't, we
sports
don't need to
minute
get into that again.
We'll summon Radic if we talk about Ben Simmons too much.
Yeah, I know. So I actually watched an anime this month too. Would you believe it?
Ooh.
I
No.
watched an entire one on the plane on the way home. One of the only anime I actually watch is Agretzko, and the 5th and final season aired on my birthday, February 16th, and I promptly waited 2.5 months or so to watch it.
Timely.
Very timely. And so I had it all downloaded and I watched on the flight home. And I don't know if either of you have watched this before or no.
I'm
have
gonna
not.
get to it eventually. I like the concept.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I picked this. I think just like the crazy visual of the heavy metal panda, but I just think this show has a lot of really interesting, lovable characters, and I just love how it is both a absurd comedy but also very, very realistic with the subject matter that it takes on each season.
It's kind of like a workplace comedy or something like that.
Yeah, it is definitely a workplace comedy, but also definitely deals with real issues of society in Japan. So it's very interesting.
Oh, sounds a little odd taxi-ish. Wink, wink, Addy.
I don't think Addie would like this. I'll say that.
Probably not.
But I would maybe like Odd Taxi. That is one that I actually have
Probably
considered
would.
trying at some point. But yeah, this
That
was
one's
it.
pretty short too.
Part of the appeal of this is that the season was 10 episodes and they're each like 16 minutes long or something. So that's also why I was able to watch it all in one day. But I think the season was a pretty interesting season. It wasn't my favorite season, but there was a lot of good moments. I just think that the ending is a bit rushed, but I won't, go too into that. But still enjoyable, and I liked that it did as a final season. It felt pretty good because it brought back a lot of characters from previous seasons. So
Yeah. And anything that runs longer than 3 seasons, I'm just thankful if it actually does have an ending.
yep. So this had 5 seasons, but they're all like 10 episodes and like 15 minutes long, so it's not very much of a time sink.
You guys need to check out The Way of the House Husband if you haven't yet, because
I know.
Parrot, you would like it too, I think, because it's basically like Yakuza the anime, because it's this retired Yakuza man who decides to get married, and then he's like a stay-at-home house husband. So he's just like doing these daily tasks. It's pretty funny.
Yeah,
It looks incredible.
I'll check out the manga of that at some point.
All right. I have not watched anything, so let's go ahead and move back to Straw Hat. Just kidding. Now it's time for the multiplayer minute. Parrot, go. 30 seconds.
I love this new game, Deceive Inc. It is a 3-player extraction style game, but the focus is on stealth. You play as 3 bank robbers, basically, or just robbers in general, and you have to run around the map and collect key cards and different things to be able to open the vault to try to steal the treasure for the other team. And you also like can turn yourself into the different disguises of all the NPCs around the map that give you different clearances around, kind of like Hitman. So you have to try to steal the treasure before the other teams, or also figure out who the other teams really are. Are they NPCs or not?
Nice. I got sucked back into Vermintide too because my friends keep playing it, which is amazing that game has such long legs with us. We also played some Darktide, which is just the better Vermintide 2, but people can't really run that half the time. And then to top it off, they got me to play Risk of Rain 2 with mods, which is complete cancer. Great, but absolute cancer. And that was the multiplayer minute.
I bought Halo Master Chief Collection. That
I'm
was
excited.
my multiplayer minute.
Wow. Will you play multiplayer on it?
I have a friend who also he loves Halo, so he said he would play through them all with me.
There you go. I look forward to hearing about that.
I was going to see if you were going to do it co-op with someone. That's a great way of doing it.
Poot also mentioned he would like to do it. The only thing I was torn on is I looked at the collection and they have Halo Reach as the first game you should play, and that kind of annoys me a bit because I'm like, I know in the timeline, I guess technically you should start with Reach, but I'm like, shouldn't you start with Halo 1?
Yeah, yes. Definitely don't do that. Go to 1.
Yeah, especially with shooters like that. Going up in quality also goes up in quality of gameplay a lot. So you don't want to. Going back to Halo 1's a little hard if you start with Reach.
Yeah, one of my friends says Halo Reach is the best Halo. So I'm like, well. So when Reach came out after 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was Bungie's last Halo game.
You would play 1, 2, 3, ODST, and then Reach.
And then 4.
Or don't play 4. You don't have to do that. No, a lot of people like 4. I don't like it, but
I enjoyed 4. But once you get to 3, 4, 3 ones, your mileage will vary much more wildly.
Yeah, gotcha. I never even played 5, and I have seldom played Infinite either.
I'm sure you will be hearing about it coming up at some point. I don't know when we're going to start it, but I have another shooter, which I'll mention later, that I'm going to be playing probably first, so we will see.
I would almost suggest doing a Halo game night on the Discord at some point, but that could be a very one-sided affair, depending on the skill levels of half the server.
Well, yeah. I would be terrible, because I've never played it, really.
I used to be good at 3. I played a little bit Infinite Online, but I really was not good at that. I used to be good at 3. That was about it.
Since this is multiplayer themed, I was going to ask you, Connor. Coming up on my Steam list is I might start playing some Blaze Blue, Chrono Phantasm Extend. I have, so I don't know if you play much of Blaze Blue, but
I have it, and I have been waiting for a good opportunity to dig into it.
All right, well, it'll be a little while yet, but maybe once I start playing it, we can start doing some matches.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good to me.
It was my fault that I extended the multiplayer minute because I threw some curveballs in there.
Well, since you're the one who, you were the reason why it's a minute instead of longer than that, I think that's okay. But how's Love is Blind going this time?
All right, yeah, so I got a few more to. I'll just or fire some of the rest of mine, and then Parrot and I have a shared one at the end. So, but yes, Love is Blind. We actually just finished the final episode. We still have to do the reunion episode yet, but for some reason we get so hooked into this show, and it is just trash. Like it's just terrible. But
Well, we
yeah,
watch isekai, so
that's true. I mean, that's pretty much what this is, I feel like, too, because I don't know if I explained the premise of the show, but it's like these two people, or they have like a man, a side with men and a side with women. They get into these pods and then they just talk to each other through dating without seeing each other for I don't know how long it is, a few days. And then after a while, they decide that they want to get married. So then they propose and they meet each other and then they have to live together for like 14 days. I think the total time is like 20 days because one of the bride's fathers like, you guys are seriously getting married. You've known each other for 20 days. You don't even know each other at all and you're nuts. But so that's pretty much, you just watch these people's lives as they try to justify their choices of getting married without really knowing each other. And it's usually a disaster, but I will say this latest season actually turned out pretty well for the couples. I watched the season before this one, and that one was way more of a disaster than this one was. But you kind of like at the end, you kind of are rooting for them because it's like they're it's so dramatic with because you get to the end and like both of them have to say yes, we believe love is blind or whatever, and then they get married for real. But they also will throw you complete curveballs, and then like the season before, the one girl's like, you were so mean to me, you like weight shame me this whole time and stuff, even though there was no evidence of that in the show. And it's just like these are also like the worst of the worst humanity has to offer usually, so that's what makes it
it's on
also
reality
funnier.
TV, so
Yep. So it's like you don't really want to root for these people, like because I'm like you don't get too invested because they're not great people, but you still get invested. So that was my long-winded Love Is Blind preview. If anybody wants to watch it,
yeah, this is one of those things that when people dunk on all the trash anime out there, I look at American TV and I look at shows like this and go, please, please, how is this different? Oh,
so Parrot, when are you and your girlfriend gonna start?
Honestly, I have seen this before. Don't they eventually get to like they leave the pods, right? And then they're in real life
Yeah,
together.
they like go to a resort like for a week and live together. Then
Yeah.
they like go back to their own like lives for a little bit and then try to like get ready for the wedding.
So we have watched this, or she's watched it while I was in the room playing like my Switch or something at the time. But she liked it and thought it was entertaining, like in the pod part. But then when they got out of the pod, she just found it so awkward and horrible that she just couldn't even bring herself to watch it.
that would be me.
That's
I
funny.
can't stand that stuff.
Well, then in more wholesome entertainment, I did finish The Mandalorian because it wrapped up this last week, and I liked it. I think it's one of the few Star Wars things that I still think is very good. And I'm just scared to death that they are going to ruin it any moment
They
because
will.
Disney likes to do that with Star Wars. And I thought this season wrapped up very nicely. And I'm like, good. They can end it here. Perfect. And then my friend's like, oh no, they already announced another season. I'm like, why? Why?
Cause
Like,
it's popular.
I know, but I'm just like, this is the one thing I feel like Disney hasn't really messed up Star Wars wise, but I feel like they're gonna be on the cusp of doing it. Like you've ruined Marvel pretty much. Like you should have stopped after Thanos. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
I don't. It's just like it's still good. I'll watch the next season, I'm sure, but I'm worried that it's gonna get messed up because Disney can't handle Star Wars.
Yeah, I have to watch this still. Honestly, for whatever reason, I didn't even really realize it was airing.
I'm just gonna take Rogue One and the Solo movie and call those as happy accidents
Yeah,
and
take it as a
ignore
win.
everything else.
I've heard that Ando is good, but I'm just like I'm kind of sick of Star Wars stuff too, to be honest. I'm just like they don't do enough to spread out the galaxy or do anything different enough. And every time I watch Star Wars, I'm just like Mass Effect's better. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, my problem is that I have the unpopular opinion where my favorite era of Star Wars is the prequels, so they don't do anything with that.
Oh no.
They just pretend that never happened. And I'm like, oh, that's my
It's very
favorite.
unfortunate.
the Obi-Wan
Obi-Wan show.
series.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
watched
say.
that one. I did watch that one because I'm like, and it was not bad. It was pretty good at times. You could tell that it was a movie that was turned into a show because, like in the middle, it was pretty bloated and pointless.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
But they had a lot of good stuff in the the beginning and the end. So that I liked because it spoke to me. But yeah, I've always been a prequel person. So
It's
Yeah.
almost like this was all George Lucas's plot to give it to Disney so they could try to do something with it and prove that the prequels actually were the best possible story.
yep.
Yeah. He wasn't. He's nobody even cares about how much he messed up anymore. It's just Disney, so
Did he mess up though? I'm starting to think not.
maybe not. We'll never know.
I look back at the prequels with great fondness now, so clearly something was good.
I always did, but I just feel like I was also that age where I was growing up watching them in like middle school, and I was just like, "Oh my god, I love this so much!" It totally shaped my interest. Like I've ever since then, I've
Ooh.
always loved robots and clones, and it's never changed.
And Jar
Nice.
Jar.
Gotta love them. Gotta love them.
Gotta love 'em.
All right, and then another thing I've been watching is the NBA playoffs because I've been watching a few of the series. I love the NBA, so I like watching the playoffs. Unfortunately, the Nets were a joke and got swept by the Sixers, even without their best player in the last game. So
They were more
sorry,
painful to
Parrot.
watch. They were more painful to watch than a Love Is Blind season, huh?
I thought they could at least win one or two games. I didn't really expect them to win the series, but I didn't expect them to get swept. So the fans are already chanting for the Dame Lillard trade next year, which hopefully they get something. But and then the two other series I've been watching, the Lakers and Grizzlies, because I don't like LeBron, so I'm always rooting against him. Sorry, Radic.
Yep, most people.
But the Lakers are winning, unfortunately, and look like they're going to win the series. And then the other series is the Suns and the Clippers because I'm a big KD fan. And it looks like the Suns are going to win the series, but it's mostly because the Clippers look like the better team, but their two best players are out, and Russell Westbrook somehow is playing like Michael Jordan right now. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I've not gotten to watch. I'm gonna try to start watching now. Being on the West Coast, on vacation, it was a perfect timing to miss everything.
That's true. And then, of course, I'm very excited because this is the week of the NFL draft, which I take off of work because I love watching at least the first 3 rounds so much. It's extremely nerdy, I know, but I love the NFL draft for some reason.
That's impressive. That's impressive.
My brother likes that too.
It's like every team wins that night.
It's the only time I ever feel optimism.
And somehow the Browns still lose that night, which is how it's meant to be.
But the real question was, how did the Seattle Sonics do in the NBA playoffs this year?
Ooh,
They're-
we got some
they're
bad
not-
news for you.
Yeah, they're not a team anymore, unfortunately.
I know. That's been the pain point in the Seattle area for years.
Yeah.
It's about all I know about NBA is that everyone in Washington is still salty
I
about it.
know. They're never. I don't know why they don't have a team at this point. Really,
It's weird. They even went and made a new hockey team. And it's just like,
I know.
and still no basketball.
Oh well. And then the last thing, which Parrot it looks like also has watched, is last. I want to say, well, it was the Saturday it came out, or that week it came out. I went to the theater and watched the Mario movie, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I mean, it was nothing like the story isn't going to blow you away because it's. I mean, the Mario games don't have much of a story, but I was impressed with the voice actors for the most part. I guess just actors. I mean, this isn't a video game, but I was surprised how good Chris Pratt was because a lot of people were concerned about him. He was fine. Luigi was
I don't know
great.
why they ever were.
Yeah,
Chris Pratt's great.
Yeah, he's. I guess people just don't. Some people just don't like Chris Pratt either. I think that was part of the reason. everyone was great except I really wasn't a fan of the Kongs. Like Donkey Kong, Seth Rogen, I wasn't really digging, or Cranky Kong's act or whoever voiced him either. But other than that, the movie looks beautiful. Like the animation's great.
Yep.
The references are great too. I loved what they did that. I loved the characterization, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be another one, and I'm probably going to watch it again because I like Mario, and my wife also enjoyed it. So it was funny though because at the theater we were at, it's not a very great theater. And at the end of the movie, somebody walked behind us and just chucked their popcorn bucket into the crowd. And they didn't hit anybody, but it was like right in front of us. And I was just like, what is happening? Like somebody just threw it. And there's literally a trash can right outside the door. So I have no idea. That was bizarre.
They did not like the Mario movie,
I
or they
guess
liked it so much they couldn't control themselves. I
Must
guess it's
be.
one of the two.
Or they're just the type of person who goes to a well, there's just a certain crowd of people who go to movie theaters that should not be out in public.
That's true. Somebody also did have like a newborn baby in the theater, and they like cried the whole time. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are
Oh
you
my God.
here? But I didn't. The licensed music I really wasn't crazy about, but it
Yep.
wasn't like offensive. And the Mario music was great. So
That's one of the things I had written down too. Like when they used Mario music just remixed, it was so cool that it always made me confused whenever all of a sudden there was like a licensed movie, like a licensed song section. It was just like, I'm not sure why they did that, but I pretty much agree with everything you said.
It's the studio that did the Minions movies, right?
Yes,
So
yeah.
Yep.
I'm not
That's
in the
probably why.
slightest bit surprised.
Yeah.
Secret Life of Pets too. Like the dog in this movie looks exactly like that dog. So
Yeah, but yeah, I agree. I thought the movie was fun. Obviously, the story was not anything close to writing home about, but I loved all the references. I like how like Wrecking Crew was a reference, and then
Yep.
Chunky Kong, my boy, he was there.
Oh yeah. The DK rap we got to hear, even though he didn't get credited, I've heard on
I
in the
know, I heard
movie.
that.
And I
Mario
love
Kart references.
Oh yeah, the Mario
and
Kart. How
maybe a-
random it, this is kind of a spoiler, I guess, but I mean it's not really a plot important, but how weird was it for Mario to be playing Kid Icarus on the NES
I know.
randomly?
I loved it. What's kind of interesting is like how the New York scenes was like they all had the NES with every game except Mario, because
Yeah.
like in New York there was tons of like NES game references, but then when they got to the Mushroom Kingdom it was all just like Mario game references.
That's a little bit mind bending.
It was a little bit. You could see Mario's parents who don't necessarily trust his judgment. I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
we're really getting to see a whole new side of Mario.
Mario and Donkey Kong like speak about how their fathers just don't believe in them.
Yeah, I mean they changed the canon because Donkey Kong's supposed to be Cranky Kong's grandson, but in the movie he calls him
Yep.
dad. So I don't know what's happening.
Donkey Kong Jr. is dead. That was his dad in the original Super Mario Kart and
Yeah,
the other
that's what it
games.
says.
So
So we have to get to the bottom of this.
I'm just like, I don't know. I'm kind of with Mario's dad on this. It's like he said he wants to go into a pipe and explore the Mushroom Kingdom. It's pretty sus behavior.
You'll have to see. You'll have to watch it.
yeah, are you gonna go see this, Connor?
I am trying to get myself over to the theater to watch John Wick 4 before it's stops showing. So probably not.
Well, I think the Mario movie is gonna come to streaming. I feel like very soon. Like I wonder if it's not even next month already. I don't know where I heard that, but it seems like it's coming quick. I could.
Yeah,
be
you're gonna have to
wrong,
watch it
though.
when it comes to streaming. Or
Eventually.
else.
It's a long list of stuff I have to watch.
One nice thing, it's a quick 90 minutes, so it's
Yep.
not long.
I imagine I'll probably end up seeing it when I am next at my sister's house, and the kids will probably have it on repeat over and over again. So I will watch it eventually, probably.
Man, if I were a kid, I would probably watch this movie like every day.
Yeah, I can tell you that when I was in the theater, I saw it that Saturday, and the kid next to me was like repeating the lines as they were happening. So he'd already seen it quite a few times.
Well, Connor, you got to get ready for the Mario universe or the Super Smash Brother eventual lead-up movie. So
Oh.
Radic is gonna have to
we-
be on this episode.
We get the Smash Bros. Tie universe movie, then sure, let's go with that. I'll take that.
There is a tease of a sequel, and then who knows? Maybe there'll be a Kid Icarus movie since Mario was playing that in game in universe.
That might be the most random movie that they could make. I'm just waiting for Chibi Robo.
Yeah.
Subspace Emissary, the movie. That I'd watch. Man, for a episode where we thought we were going to have a whole lot to talk about, we've had a lot to talk about.
Yep. I figured that would happen.
Yeah.
Well, the next section though, I have like nothing to say, so
we'll start with Parrot.
So I decided I'm just going to try to start shouting out the books that I read that I actually really enjoyed. So I actually didn't read that much this month because the third book I started this month is Stephen King's The Stand, and that is 1,400 pages. And I went on vacation, so I am only like 300 pages in. So that is probably going to be like the only book I talk about next month too, I would imagine.
yeah, that's me too. Because I've only read Inheritance. I'm reading Inheritance, which is the last book, and I hadn't read. That's the only book I've read, and it's really long. So that's what I'll be talking about next month. So we might each just have one book.
Yeah. I think like I usually read like 60 pages a day, so even at that pace, it's going to take me probably like a little over 3 weeks to finish it. So that's going to be a lot of my next few weeks of reading. But one book I did read start to finish was a book I picked up at the library called Episode 13 by Craig DeLuey. And this is another book that Straw Hat would not like. It is another horror book, but it is a found footage style book. So it is all written in interviews and transcripts of a television show, blogs, texts, stuff like that.
That's fun.
And it is written about episode 13 of a ghost hunting show. So the book is all written as if the show is a real show. So it's like a fake, a fake fiction, a fake nonfiction book, basically. So that's how it's written. And it's about this ghost hunting show where this husband is like the lead ghost guy, and he is very convinced that ghosts are real. And the wife is an actual legitimate scientist, and she does not believe ghosts are real. So those two, and then like three other people go house to house making this show, trying to determine if ghosts are really there. So it is a more scientific approach. So the show is popular. So for their 13th episode, they go to this house that some history happens in, and it is not a spoiler to say that they get some real evidence that this actually could be real this time, enough that the wife is actually starting to also believe it. So that is the basic summary of the book. So it goes much further than that, but it also but what is really appealing about it, I feel like, is the way that it is told, and you get to know all the characters very in depth because it is told like through their personal blogs and stuff.
That's really fun.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it a lot more than I expected. It was just a random book I saw at the library. I usually just, when the year starts, I usually just Google like horror books coming out this year, and then I write them all down, and then I just look at the cover and see if they look cool, and if they do, I try it. That's pretty much it. And this one was one of those ones that I didn't have any expectations, and it was really, really, really good.
See, the cover is very important. That can't
It
be
is.
stressed enough. Some of us are dumb and we just see the cover and we go, that looks pretty. I'm reading this.
Yep. My girlfriend always laughs because I don't really know. Sometimes I don't even read the blurb. I just see like the cover and I heard like someone says like, "Oh yeah, this was a great horror book." I'm like, "Okay, I'll read it." Don't need to even tell me what it's about.
One might think it'd be important to look at the summary or the explanation of the story, but nope. It's about the pictures.
Yep. And then I don't normally talk about manga or comics, but this month I wanted to throw one of each in. And that I read a manga that is called Horimiya. Have you heard of this? Or I don't know if I'm saying it right.
I don't know. It sounds kind of familiar, but I
Horimiya?
don't really know nothing about it. So
Me
It's
neither.
like it's a cute little romance story, basically. This girl is named Hori, and they go to school together, the two, and they basically discover that each of them is living like a secret life outside of school. So to keep her secret is that instead of being the popular cool girl she is at school, she actually comes home and is just a mom basically to her younger brother. And for some reason she is ashamed of this. I don't quite understand why, but and then his secret is that he is shy and quiet at school, but actually outside of school he has ear piercing and lip piercing and tattoos. So they basically discover that they have secrets, mutual secrets, so they become best friends because while hiding these secrets basically, and then a romance ensues. But it is
Nice.
very cute and pretty funny, and I just been reading it very casually. I would say Connor would probably like this.
Sounds
I
like a
probably would.
classic rom-com, which I've been exposed to a lot lately.
Yeah, I was trying to find another manga like Blue Box, which is one of the few that I read, and that is a pretty, a very light romance, and but like with a sports theme. But this is, pretty interesting. I've just been reading like a few chapters a day.
Nice.
But yeah, Connor, this is one I would look up if I was you, probably based
Yeah.
off of things I know that you like.
I, for some reason, am a sucker for the romance mangas. Those are the ones I end up actually like reading the manga for more often than not.
Yeah, I like once in a while a nice little like light rom com style thing I can get into. And then I just want to shout out, I read this on the plane, Spider Girl. It's from 1999, I believe. So neither of you will know this, but modern Spider-Man comics suck. They're awful right now. They're really bad. Everyone's mad about them.
I'm actually kind of aware of that. I used to watch a bunch of comic reviews. Never actually read comics, but I watched a bunch of comic reviews and I saw how crazy Marvel got for a while.
Yeah, right now Spider-Man's in like the worst place that it's been in like a long time, and everybody hates it, including me. So I decided to go back and read this really popular run that I never had read before, which is a alternate universe thing where Peter Parker does retire as Spider-Man, and his daughter becomes Spider-Girl as she gets older and grows into her powers. So it is a like jump in time, so it's like a reboot. There's some like ties to old characters, but it's really its own thing, and it's just I've read like 25 of them. There's like 140 issues or something, so I have a lot more to go, but it's just a nice breath of fresh air because it's a fun take on Spider-Man again.
Yeah. It's not Gwen Stacy's Spider Girl, huh?
No, this is Mayday Parker is her name. Mary Jane and Peter get married, and they have her as their daughter. And when she hits high school, all of a sudden she's playing basketball. A lot of basketball talk in this episode, but she's playing basketball, and all of a sudden she's dunking. So she's like, she's got powers all of a sudden. But yeah,
powers to jam.
powers of jam. So yeah, it's just been a really fun time, and it makes me forget about the horrible things they're doing to Spider-Man right now.
Been doing for a while, it sounds like.
Yep.
Oh, Lordy. Yeah. So for my reading, I have an unfinished visual novel. None of us, we all said we were going to play.
If I knew how to whistle, I would just be whistling right now.
Well, this time, you know what? I decided let's all just skip together.
And this is the one I wanted to play too.
Did you guys
I'm still
play
gonna
it?
get to Digimon. I'm still gonna get to Digimon, but I haven't touched it.
My problem is that I have it on Switch, and I got my Steam Deck, and I just don't want to touch my dirty, sneaky Switch right now.
I just did. I started it, and I just could not get into it. I got like a couple chapters. I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 chapters in it. I just was not really feeling it. It also really annoyed me because the turn-based combat is not what I want it to be as a Fire Emblem XCOM expert.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not good enough for me, even though I shouldn't be judging it by that standard, as it's just a secondary thing to a visual novel. But yeah, I just did not really like it.
Yeah, I'm able to turn off my brain for easy combat mode, and like I'm able to just turn that off and just rush through it if it's super easy and enjoy the story. But yeah, nope, I didn't get to it either. So I guess I'll try to get to it some other time in the future.
Yep.
And instead, I ended up putting like 20 hours into Fate Stay Night, which I think I already mentioned before, but I got most of the way through the first route of the game, and it's pretty good. Not like it's definitely early type Moon, but
yeah, I mean, it's really
it's
famous.
entertaining.
It's like what kind of got visual novels going again, I feel like, when it came out. But like we talked about before, I've watched the anime, so I know the story, but I haven't read the visual novel.
Yeah, I think when I'm done getting all of my gaming completely derailed by Kuro, I'll probably come back to it and finish it. But it's yeah, it's a nice way of getting through the story. Maybe a bit long.
Nice.
That's about all I have to say as far as reading goes, though.
I know our reading was lacking this month. We were watching and gaming more, I guess.
Well, yeah.
And I was on vacation.
Yeah,
Technically, I could have put Kuro on this section
that's
as
true.
well, and it would have fit just as well. So
Very true.
I just did all of my things in one media. It's just a JRPG. I watched, read, and gamed for
That's why
80
they're
hours
so
straight.
great.
Exactly.
All right, and for the Collectathon Club this month, we played Donkey Kong 64, which most of us enjoyed, I think. I think some of us enjoyed it more than others, but we're not really going to talk a whole lot about it because we're going to do an episode about it probably within the next month. We will have a guest for that as well. Addie will be joining us. And yeah, we'll get more into it there. The only other note I have for this month is we did a little change up. We were originally going to play Mario 64 and Sunshine for the month of May, but we're going to switch it to Jet Set Radio because Parrot informed me that there is a sequel coming out, or I don't know if it's a sequel or just a similar type game to
It's
Jet
like
Set.
a spiritual successor, like an
Okay.
indie game, I believe. It's called Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. That comes out in
Yeah.
August, so I figured, maybe we play this Jet Set Radio now, and then then you'll have an idea if you're interested in that game when it comes
Yep.
out in August.
Which is good with me because I have never played Jet Set Radio. I already have it, but I have not touched it, so I'm curious to try it. And I have one friend who absolutely loves this game, so I
Yeah.
think Sam really likes it too, from what I've seen.
Yep. I'm interested. I remember I hated this game and I tried it, but I tried the Vita port, which I just think is probably not the way to go. So I'm going to be playing it for real this time on the Steam Deck.
Yeah, I kind of look forward to this one as well. It's got a bit of a reputation in my circles, and this one I seen quite a bit having had a Dreamcast back in the day. So I'm interested to try as well.
Nice.
All right. So we are getting low on time. So I think we'll go ahead and move on to our shout outs for the month and then start wrapping up.
All right.
For a song, I'm going to shout out the album The Modern Western World by Van Sire to continue my streak of pulling out things that are very out of left field. This is a interesting album that's kind of got, what's cool about it is it cuts across a broad set of genres, but it kind of ties them together with some elements too. So it feels very cohesive, but it's just this nice, soothing listen through. I guess I don't know enough music history to really say, but I think though the name is pretty apt, The Modern Western World. So you should give it a listen if you get a chance.
Nice.
I will. I listen to music a lot, so
Perfect.
I will try this out.
So my song shout out is the Trails to Azure soundtrack, which obviously Connor knows, and I don't know how Parrot feels about the Falcom music, but other than Persona, it's probably my favorite soundtrack across gaming. So anytime I have a chance to play the games again and listen to the Crossbell music is my favorite of the series, both Zero and Azure. So it's just some great bops to listen to with this game, especially
the original OST has some real classics on it.
I'm going to shout out the song Amusement World from Saturn Bomberman. It's just one of those catchy songs, like the same song plays the whole time you're in the first world, and yet it never got old. And that was before you started time traveling to all the different stages like the dinosaurs. You just get to start in a simple amusement park.
Excellent. It's always good to have one of those repeating tracks that you don't get sick of.
Yep.
Like playing Pokemon back in the day where you eventually were just like, volume slider on to 0. All right. And then for characters, less surprising is that I'm going to shout out a character from Kuro no Kiseki. And it's Anya Skladel, which is more or less the main partner character in the series. And she seems like she's going to be this kind of, like innocent high school girl type of archetype, the very nice, the very kind, the white mage of the party. Uh, but then she quickly shows that she has this kind of almost cunning detective side to her, which is really great. And then by the end of it, she cemented her place as like one of my top characters in the series. So, very great character. Best assistant.
I'm a little surprised you chose her. The thing is, Kuro has so many great characters. It could
It
go
does.
anywhere. Because even like Van himself is a great pick. I mean, he's
He
the
is.
main character. I also love uh, Reset. She's
Yep.
great.
I ended up liking her quite a lot too.
Aaron is also great. There's so many great characters, but yeah, I did like her as well. So good choice. So I decided, it's funny because I saw Parrot's pick and I'm like, man, I could have shouted a different character out from that same game, but I wanted to shout out Wario just from the Wario Land games and Wario in general because I feel like he's the Nintendo character that is so not Nintendo. Like he's like if Disney has like because Mario is kind of the Mickey, but Wario is just so gross. Like he's not a good guy. He's
Nope.
greedy. He loves garlic, so his breath always stinks, which I also love garlic, but I don't eat it by the cloves like Wario does. He's just a terrible person, but Nintendo has him in his own games and I kind of respect them for it. I think he needs to come back more. He needs some more love from Nintendo.
It's like if Disney had a classic beloved counterpoint to Mickey that was literally just a garbage rat,
Yeah, pretty much.
a New York rat. It's just like that levels of
He just
conflict.
that would just like delight in spreading disease among the population or something.
The beloved Disney property.
He is a great businessman, though. Wario.
He's
With
got
all his
money.
micro games.
Yep.
I love Wario. I just love his. I love the micro games, like the WarioWare series, especially. I just love all the characters in that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
all of his different friends, or I'm not really sure if they're supposed to be his friends or they all hate him. I'm not sure.
I don't know if anybody really likes Wario. I don't even know if Luigi was really that big into Wario, honestly. But they just work together because who else is going to work with them?
So I'm gonna shout out the greatest Kong in DK64, of course, Chunky Kong.
Chunky.
I love this guy. I just love playing as him. He's just so big and like hulking, and then you get to turn into like the giant version of him and just like pick up boulders and smash stuff. He's just so good. I mean, I actually, honestly, I like playing as all the different Kongs, but I don't know, something about Chunky, and I love his sound effects, and yeah, I just love playing as him. He's so funny. I just love his look, and there's a double whammy because he was also in the Mario movie for 1 second.
Oh yeah. My favorite thing about Chunky Kong is in the character select screen, like every character wants you to pick them, except Chunky wants you to pick him until you highlight him, and then he's like, He's like, tiny. She's like, tiny. He's like, tiny. And then when you don't select him and go to somebody else, he's like, phew.
Yeah, I like that little bit about his character. There's one thing I definitely like about those games. The characters have a lot of personality.
If only he had Kiddy Kong with him, right? His brother.
I was just gonna say I'm glad they had him instead of Kiddy Kong because I didn't like Kiddy Kong. I'm just curious why they had Tiny Kong instead of Dixie. That's her sister, but still, I guess it got us more Kongs.
Yep, the whole family. I remember as I was playing DK64, I had to look and I'm just pouring over the Kong family tree. I'm like, wow, this is just kind of crazy complicated, weirdly.
Deep lores.
And then you have Lanky Kong, who is my favorite Kong, who's just like not related to anybody.
Like he's a G.
He's just there.
Life. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and wrap up then with what we got planned next, if anything.
All right. So I've already actually started Earthbound, and I played Earthbound before and I really like it, but I never finished it. So I want to go back and finish it. It's not a very long JRPG. I think it's 30 to 40 hours maybe. I don't know because I never finished it. But I'm already making good progress, and I gotta say I'm already impressed because I forgot this game doesn't have random encounters, which back
Right.
in Super Nintendo games is a big win, and any old JRPG. So I have a feeling I'm gonna really love it even more than I did, and I'll talk about it more next week or next time. And I'm also gonna play BioShock 2. I know said I was gonna play it last month, but Azure took me a lot longer than I expected. So BioShock 2, I already got it installed, and I looked at the settings today because for some reason it wanted to display it in 1024 by 768 or something, and I'm like, this is not happening on a 2K monitor that I have. So I got that set up, and then it's ready to go. I'll probably start it in a day or two. And then the last one I'm going to probably hopefully play is Kenna Bridge of Spirits. It's been on my list, and Parrot also wants to play it, so I figured it'd be a good time to play it around the same time.
Yep. I'm looking to play that. I actually started today for like the first 45 minutes. So I'm going to continue playing that. And I'm going to play some Roller Drome. And then I
Yeah.
obviously, of course, the new Zelda game when it comes out.
Oh,
And then
yes, me
obviously, I'm
too.
also going to play a lot of small platformer games, I would imagine.
Whoa.
And probably just, maybe Spark the Electric Jester 3, some Mega Man X2. Who knows? There's just so many that I can play.
Who knows? Just let me know when you start Roller Drum so I can get into that one too.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
I
I'm
should
kinda
play
looking
that
forward to
too,
that
but I
one.
don't know if I'll be able to handle both those. We'll have to see. I don't know how long they are, but I'll try to play that as well if you guys are both going to play it.
1 second.
Roller Drum looks like an easy pick up and play kind of game for me.
Yeah.
I tried the tutorial of it. It was super cool. So that's why I'm really excited to get back to it. Pretty sure it's pretty short. I'm pretty sure it's I think Kana and Roller Drome are and Jet Set Radio are all in that 6 to 8 hour range. So
Oh, well, yeah, that's easy then.
It's roller skating month.
Yeah, it is.
oh yeah, I did not even think about that. Roller skate month.
What did they call that sports thing back in the 90s? The X Games or
Yeah,
whatever?
it's still around.
Is this X Games month?
Yep,
It's
X Games month.
And in complete contrast, I will be finishing up Kuro 2, which will probably be another 60 hours of gameplay at least. And then I'm probably going to watch Kaguya-sama Season 3.
I think I've seen that already. I think the only thing they did movies last. I don't know. I can't remember because there's a lot of
I think
seasons.
the third season just came out.
Okay, maybe I didn't see it then.
But yeah, I really love that series. So
it's a good one.
That's going to be I'm going to say, oh, we're going to pace it, watch 2 episodes a night, and then the second night I'm going to binge the rest of it. That's probably what's going to happen.
That's your way you go.
That's the way I do. Alrighty. Well, that's it for this week, or this month, I guess. So, hope you all enjoyed listening. We sure enjoyed talking. So, see you later.
Sayonara.
Bye.
Oh.